Okay, we're ready to go. Okay, Nancy, we're ready to go. Thank you. Sorry, Nancy, just unmute yourself, please, because we cannot hear you. Okay. Sorry, one more time. No, we can't hear you. Can you just unmute yourself from your end?
What about now?
Okay, yep, you've been unmuted. Yep.
Okay. Good morning. Due to COVID-19, Committee of Adjustment public hearings are being conducted electronically via WebEx webinar, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. Participants who registered in advance will be connecting to the hearing using a phone or compatible electronic device and are able to make their presentations to committee using WebEx webinar. Participants will be muted automatically upon entry. When your item is called, participants will be unmuted one person at a time by the moderator. Please mute your devices until called upon to speak. Today, Committee of Adjustment is offering attendees the option to appear by video. Attendees who registered in advance to attend by video will be temporarily upgraded to panelist when their item is called. During this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time, and at all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. Committee of Adjustment staff will assist us by moderating the WebEx webinar platform, including sharing presentation material received within the written submission deadline. Members of the public and applicants are not allowed to use the share screen or any other panelist controls during a video appearance. The host will remove you from the panelist role if you fail to respect this instruction. My name is Nancy Oman and I will be chairing this hearing. Panel members participating via WebEx webinar who can be seen and heard are Joanne Hayes, Larry Clay, Peter Reed, and Yim Chan. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and it is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone attending today who wants to receive a copy of the committee's decision for an application must submit a written request by email to the general email address for the Committee of Adjustment, Toronto and East York District Office. Please include your name, address, and an email address. Committee of Adjustment and TLAB notifications and appeal updates will be sent by email only. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, known as TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Appeal instructions will be set out at the bottom of the committee's decision. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. And when the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant and agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I'll comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When addressing the committee, please speak slowly, clearly state your name and address. Please confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first with a presentation of the application, and then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have completed their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent will be unmuted and will have an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion, and the application will be taken into committee for a decision. When a presentation is not required, panel members may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Please note, the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice are informed of the changes. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, have the last minutes of the Committee of Adjustment public hearing been confirmed by the members?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. The October 19th as well as the October 26th minutes are ready for adoption.
Okay, can I have a motion to adopt the minutes? So that's moved by Ms. Hayes. Do I have a seconder? Mr. Reed? Okay, so the minutes for the October 19th and 26th committee meetings are moved to be adopted by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Panel members and members of staff, does anybody have an interest to declare this morning?
Through you, Madam Chair, none from city staff.
Okay, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are there any files to be closed?
Through you, Madam Chair, see none for today.
And deferral requests that you're aware of?
Through you, Madam Chair, see none for this morning.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, item number 1. We have 15 RIVERCOURT Boulevard. We have before us a copy of the revised agenda with respect to the notice that was sent out, a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations in order to comply. That was received October 31st. And forestry is asking for condition number 2. I'm only showing the agent as a speaker. Do we have the agent on the line?
Randall, you've been unmuted.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of committee. My name is Randall Dickey. Can you hear me fine?
Yes, I can, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I am agent.
Okay. I'm not sure if we need a presentation. If I can just check with my members. Do we need a presentation? Are there any questions you have for the agent, Mr. Clay?
Thanks, Chair. A couple. Obviously, this was done without the benefit of the building permit, but was this work carried out by a contractor or the homeowner?
Through you, Madam Chair. In 2019, the owner of the property retained a contractor to do 2 tasks. One was to rebuild the garage, detached garage in the rear yard, and the second was to do the small addition. That contractor did not apply and obtain the necessary permits and the approvals from the city. That contractor has now been removed from the site, and I'm part of the team that's come on board in the last little while to try and resolve these issues and get the necessary approvals from the city.
Okay, so the homeowner, I guess, was unaware that the contractor didn't get the necessary approvals.
Yes, she's an elderly lady, and I won't get into the historical background, but they did not get the necessary approvals up front. That's why it's a double the fee after the fact approval that we're trying to clean up now with both zoning and the building department.
Okay, thanks. The other question is, forestry has recommended we put a condition on getting a permit to injure a private tree. Has the work already been done? Is that private? Has a private tree been removed or damaged?
I am not aware of whether the tree has been damaged, but the work has, let's say the excavation work has essentially been done. The garage exists. The garage was rebuilt on top of an existing slab. So the only issue potentially would be whether a tree was injured with the small addition to the back of the house. But I am more than willing to accept that condition as a condition of approval, and whatever the issue with forestry, we will resolve that matter.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? Okay, Mr. Dickey, I'm not showing any other questions. Is there anything you want to add before we go into committee to make a decision?
Thank you. I won't take up any more time than the committee, needs to, but I'd be pleased to answer any questions you may have. But I hope that the committee would grant these variances so that we can complete the process, including the building permit process, and make sure that everything is done properly and legally. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. I don't think there are any more questions, so let's take it into committee panel members. Mr. Clay and then Ms. Hayes. Larry, I can't hear you. I'm not sure if you're muted.
Oh, pardon me.
That's okay.
I was just going to move a motion. I don't know if Joanne had any comments or thoughts, but I was satisfied with the explanation that the agent gave. So, and it is a fairly modest addition to the back of this home, and the garage is basically replacing what was already there. So I think this is supportable given the circumstances. I'll move approval subject to forestry condition number 2.
Okay, Joanne, you second? All right, so motion to approve, including forestry number 2, moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you. Item number 2, 22 Fernwood Park Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a covering letter from Julia Burke, the agent. We have map and photographs of comparable properties, a rendering of the subject property. We have email corresponding from planning. And we have a 5-signature petition in support signed by owners in the area on Fernwood Park Avenue, and correspondence expressing interest from number 2 Fir Avenue. Do I have the agent on the line? And if before that, can I ask staff, do we have the speaker on the line?
Through you, Madam Chair, we have the speaker on the line, but we don't have the agent.
Okay, so in that case, I'd like to hold it down
Okay,
and move on to item number 3. Okay, just give me 1 second. All right, panel members, 77 Wilson Park Avenue is item number 3. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a copy of the rental housing demolition and conversion declaration of use and screening form. We have 11 form letters that are showing support. There are a couple that didn't provide addresses. The rest are all on Wilson Park Avenue. And I am only showing the agent as a speaker. Do I have the agent on the line?
yes, the agent is unmuted.
Hi, my name's Deepak Kular.
Hi, good morning. Panel members, do you need a presentation? Do you have any questions for the agent? No questions? Okay, sir, there are no questions. Panel's ready to take it into committee to make a decision. Is there anything you would like to add before we do so?
No, well, it's existing 5 units, and we're renovating the property and making it into 6. It's great for affordable housing in the city, and it's in a great location, close to a lot of public transportation. It's in between King and Queen Street, so it's prime area in Toronto, and it's a really good usage for the area of the space, I think.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's take it into committee for a decision. Ms. Chen. I believe
This
you're
is
muted.
a good proposal because it's just adding another unit, and I think that is in the area that the transit, everything is good for these smaller units. I have no problem with this application. I'll move for approval with no conditions.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mr. Reed, so a motion to approve, moved by Ms. Chen, seconded by Mr. Reed, all in favor? That carries unanimously. Before I go to item 4, do we have the agent for number 2 yet?
Through you, Madam Chair, no, we don't, and we've just sent him an email.
Okay, thanks. Item number 4, 686 Cosburn Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of trees on the property, as well as previous decisions affecting the property. And again, I'm only showing the agent as a speaker. Do we have the agent?
Through you, Madam Chair, we do have the agent as well as a registered speaker for item 4.
Actually, yeah, I do.
Yes, and
Sorry, I
we do
misread it.
have both of them. So we will unmute the agent, Mr. Mohammed.
Okay, thanks.
Good morning, Madam Chair. This is Mohammed Sayed. I'm one of the authorized agents for 686 Cosburn Avenue.
All right, can I ask you to do a presentation, please? No more than 5 minutes, and then we'll go to the speaker.
Definitely. Thank you, Madam Chair. So in front of us, we are having an existing single detached dwelling located at 686 Cosburn Avenue. We are planning to have an addition of a second floor to this dwelling unit, as well as having an extension to a side. We are seeking a couple of variances in regards to this application. The first variance that we are seeking is in regards to height. The second one which we are seeking is in regards to gross floor area. The third one is the front yard setback, and the fourth one is lot coverage. What we feel as per the variances that we're seeking are something that we have achieved variances for in different situations for different properties. This is in front of the committee today, and we request the committee to look into this and approve of this. I'll be glad to answer any questions in regards to this application. Thank you.
All right, sir. We'll hold our questions till after we hear from the opposition. So I'll have you back to speak to the issues raised. If I could have the opposition, please, that'd be great.
Mr. Chen, you have been unmuted. Mr. Chen, you have been unmuted.
Hi, Mr. Chen, can you hear me?
Is there a Sarah Chen on the line? Hello, Sarah, we've unmuted you as well.
Mr. Chen?
Oh.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Oh, okay. Hi.
Yes.
Is this Sarah Chen?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. You can speak. You have 5 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just participating in this meeting. I'm not sure if I should speak anything.
Okay, so you're just listening to see what's going on through the meeting?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm just in the neighborhood.
Okay, so you don't have any concerns then that you want to bring forward?
My concern is the building height because it's going to be the second floor addition.
Mm-hmm.
And in that area, the adjacent properties are bungalows, which are 1 story. So I'm just concerned about the building height.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's my only concern. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Hi, Mr. Syed.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Can you just address the concern raised for the height?
For sure. So in front of you, Madam Chair, the proposed building height that we've proposed is 8.05 meters, and the zoning bylaw already allows a total height of 7.2 meters. So the addition of the second floor is only impacting the total height by less than a meter, which is about approximately 3 feet in height. So I do not think this adversely affects the neighbors. I do understand that a lot of the houses are very senior properties, if I could say that, and the new development happening in and around the neighborhood already has such variances in the past. So I do understand the concerns from neighbors in the neighborhood, but I think we feel that this is minor rate nature as it's less than a meter, which is going overboard from the zoning bylaw.
Okay, sir, thank you. Let me see if there are any questions from the panel. Panel members, do you have any questions? Okay, we don't have any questions, sir. We're going to take it into committee. Anything else you want to add?
No, thank you, Madam Chair. That would be all from my side.
All right, sir, thanks. Okay, panel members, we're in committee. Mr. Reed and then Ms. Hayes.
Thanks, Chair. I think this is a reasonable application, and I know the neighbor referenced some height, but I think there are a variety of heights in this neighborhood, both historical and more in terms of new build. I think this is a good way to add density to the neighborhood, and the variances being requested to allow that are minor, I think, in amount and effect. So unless Joanne has something else to add, I'd be happy to move a motion for approval with no conditions.
Okay, did you want a second, Joanne? So motion to approve, moved by Mr. Reed, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Item number 568 St. Clarens Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. And that's everything. I'm not showing any speakers other than the agent. Do we have the agent on the line?
Bruno, you've been unmuted.
And I'm here representing the owner.
Sorry, we didn't catch your name, just for the record.
Bruno Lopez.
Okay, sir. Panel members, do you need a presentation? No? Do you have any questions for Mr. Lopez? Okay, sir, I'm not showing any questions. We're ready to go into committee to make a decision. Is there anything you would like to add before we go into committee?
Yeah, just a final note that we try to do our best. We try to mimic the next door neighbor auxiliary building. It's a very straightforward application, and yes, I'll leave it up to the committee to take their decision.
Okay, thank you, sir. Panel members, we're in committee. Mr. Clay.
Thanks, Chair. I would agree. I think this is a fairly straightforward application. It's a little bit about just less than a meter closer than the bylaw allows, but I think given the consideration of the lot and the lot fabric in the area, I think it can be easily accommodated. I think this is a supportable application. I'd like to move approval with no conditions.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that? Mr. Reed. So a motion to approve, moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Item number 6, 108 Chatham Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a copy of the revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations, as well as a previous decision affecting the property. And I only show the agent as a speaker. Do we have the agent on the line?
Faison, you've been unmuted.
Good morning, everyone.
Hi, can you just identify yourself for the record, sir?
My name is Faizan Akhtar. I represent the owner of 108 Chatham Avenue.
Okay, panel members, do you need a presentation? No? Do you have any questions, Ms. Chan? And then Ms. Hayes.
Question. I have a question. Is the variance number 3, the soft landscaping? I think you have revised that, or?
Yes, so actually we had the revised zoning notice sent out to Tiffany there, and
also-
I think she did not upload it. So currently we are only seeking minor variance for the side yard setback. We actually complied with every other zoning
So
item.
can you just tell me which variances you're deleting then, please?
We're deleting the landscaping variance and the bicycle.
Do you have the
variance.
notice in front of you?
Yeah, I have the notice in front
Can
of
you
me.
go by the numbering on the notice?
Yeah, so it's the item number 150.8.6. 60.20 setbacks.
Okay, the notice that I have, so we're talking 108 Chatham, right? So
Yes.
variance number 1 is the laneways. Hang on a second. Yeah, the variance number 1 is that the ancillary building containing a laneway suite will be 0.91 from the rear lot line.
Yes.
Okay, that's deleted.
That has will be located 1 point. Yes, so that has been deleted. We have pushed
Okay.
the house inwards about 1.5 feet.
Okay,
Meter.
and then variance number 2 is the ancillary building containing laneway suite will be 0.3 from the side, 0.91. That's deleted also.
Three. No, so we are seeking a variance for that one, please.
Okay, number 3 for the landscaping.
Yeah, that one's been deleted.
Okay, and number 3 again for landscaping.
That one's been deleted as well.
Okay, number 5 for the bicycle spots.
That one's been deleted as well. We decided to actually have the
And what about 6, the height, 6.45?
that we're complying with that as well.
Okay, so the only variance then is number 2.
Yeah, which is the side yard setback.
Yeah, the ancillary building containing the laneway suite will be located 0.3 meters from the side east lot line and 0.91 from the side west lot line.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so that's the only variance we have before us now.
Yes, correct, please.
Okay. All right. Panel members, any other questions, Mr. Clay?
Yeah, I just want to clarify variance number 6 about the height. You said you no longer require the height. I'm looking at the plans and the revised plans, and the height in the elevation in the revised plans is the same as the height in the original plan. So can you just confirm that you are not requiring a height variance?
I'm looking at the the total height in my plans here in front of me is 5.97 meters from the established grade.
Okay, but I'm just looking at the revised plans, and can you just show me on the revised plans where the revised height is shown?
Yeah, they're right. 5.97 meter, correct? From the established grade. Here.
Okay, so 19.7 feet is under 6 meters? You'll
Yes,
forgive my math.
Yeah, it's about 5.97 meter,
Okay.
just under 6 meter, please.
That's great. Thank you. Just wanted to confirm.
Thank you so much.
Okay, any other questions, panel members? Okay, sir, we're ready to take this into committee for this. Oh, Ms. Chan, did you have a question or you wanted to move on? Okay, just a second. Sir, is there anything you want to add before we go into committee?
No, that's it, please.
Okay, Ms. Chan, go ahead.
Just with all this deletion and revision, I think that is a very supportive application. I move for approval with no conditions.
Okay, do I have a seconder?
As amended?
As amended, yep. So Ms. Hayes seconds the application as amended. So we're only looking at variance number 2. All the other variances were deleted. Moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Do you have the agent for number 2 yet?
Through you, Madam Chair, we're still trying to get a hold of him.
Okay, thanks. All right, item number 7. 75 LESMOUNT Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Supporting materials, we have a staff report from Forestry asking for condition number 2, and 5 form letters in support from residents on LESMOUNT and Plains Road. And number 10 Plains Road is in favor, and they abut one of the sides of this application. And I am only showing the agent as a speaker. Do we have the agent on the line?
Adam, you've been unmuted.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Adam Brander. My address is 49 Bolton Avenue in Toronto, and I'm the agent, the architect for the proposal at 75 LESMOUNT Avenue.
Good morning. Panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. Brander? And actually, Mr. Brander, I don't know, I'm just looking at my notes. Is there any revision? Like, I don't know if I wrote it under the wrong thing here, maybe. Are you making any revisions at all?
No.
Okay. I think I wrote it on the wrong item. Okay, panel members, do you have any questions? Okay, sir, we don't have any questions. Panel's ready to make a decision on this. Anything you'd like to add before we go into committee?
No, happy to answer any questions.
Okay, we're in committee, panel members. Ms. Hayes, then Mr. Reed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Although there are quite a number of variances related to this matter, most of them are very minor in nature. The one that was of some concern to me was the lot coverage. I'd like to thank the applicant for the presentation or supporting materials they provided about the variances requested. And when we look at the material that's been provided, although the lot coverage is certainly at the high end on this street, it's not the highest, and it's not unrepresentative of what is in the surrounding area. So having said that, if my colleagues have no further comment, I'd like to make a motion to approve the application subject to forestry condition number 2.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Mr. Reed? So motion to approve, including forestry number 2, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair. Sorry, through you, Madam Chair. We're ready to go back to item number 2, 22 Fernwood Park Avenue. We do have now Julia on the line.
Okay, just bear with me 1 second. Okay. So item number 2, 22 Fernwood Park Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a covering letter from Julia Burke, the agent, a map and photographs of comparable properties, a rendering of the subject property. We have email correspondence from planning. I don't believe there were any conditions. And we have a 5-signature petition in support from residents on Fernwood, and correspondence expressing an interest from number 2 Fir Avenue. So, do I have the agent on the line?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, great. Great. What a relief. Hi, it's Julia Burke. I'm the agent for the owner.
Hi, good morning, Julia. I do have a speaker listed, so if I can ask you to do a brief presentation, no more than 5 minutes, and then we'll go with the speaker.
Sure. 22 Fernwood Park Avenue occupies a corner lot in the beach neighborhood on a street with small lots and narrow 3-story detached and semi-detached houses. The existing 2-car garage is accessed via Fir Avenue, sitting across from 2 garages on the south side of Fir and beside the garage at 2 Fir Avenue on the north side of the street. Using the same footprint as the existing garage, we propose to build a 2-story garden suite with a 1-car garage at grade and a studio apartment on the 2nd floor. Our lot is small and our proposed garden suite is modest. There are other coach houses in the neighborhood, the nearest located at 12 Beach Avenue. Our coach house will be an appropriate addition to the fabric of the neighborhood, filling in the missing middle by adding much needed rental accommodation. Variances 1, 2, 3, and 5 are existing conditions. Our building will occupy the same footprint as the existing 1-story garage. The rear yard landscaping is unchanged. The west wall of the garage will be the west wall of the garden suite. The north wall of the garage will be the north wall of the garden suite and remain 0.13 meters from the side yard. Our existing garage is 4.7 meters from the back wall of the house, and the new garden suite will be 4.7 meters from the back wall of the house. Variances 6 to 8. These variances pertain to the roof line of the garden suite. Except for the roadside face of the garden suite, all other walls higher than 4 meters must slope. as they are closer to property lines in the existing house than the bylaw allows. Consequently, a compliant garden suite at this location would have a hip roof and provide no living area on the second floor. As you can see, our second floor has a sloped roof at the north face, sloping away from the neighbor's backyard. On the south face, our suite has windows on the street. Variance 9, even though we don't comply with the 4-meter height limitation, we have kept floor-to-floor heights in the suite to a minimum. Variance 10, lot coverage is an existing condition and won't change. And variance 11, floor area of the garden suite is 1.22 meters greater than the allowed of 60 square meters, so truly minor. We had a conversation with our neighbor at 2 Fir, Todd Wilson, and we have suggested that we really don't want to interfere with the garden on his roof of his garage, and we will reduce the height of our building by 12 inches or 0.3 meters, and we're happy to do that. I would also like to let you know that we do face south, and Mr. Wilson's house and garage face south as well. So the predominant sun on the property is from the south and the west, and not from the east where our garage is located. So I suspect that the plants that require full sun can still grow on the roof of his garage. So half of the variances on this application pertain to existing conditions. The rest allow for a modest studio apartment that respects the established character of the surrounding neighborhood and the privacy of the adjacent neighbors. We believe the application meets the city's objectives and provides an example of respectful infill in a downtown neighborhood. Thank you.
Hi, before I go to the opposition, are you amending variance number 9 then?
Yes, we will amend it.
Okay.
If you will accept that amendment now, we are happy to amend it.
Great. Can you give me the number you're amending it to then?
It was, let me go back here. Yes, there, let me go to our, I have it here. Oh, I do.
And while
Yes.
you're looking that up, is that going to change any other variances? Like
It will change a variance number 5.
Okay.
It goes from in the final sentence, it says, in this case, ancillary building containing a garden suite will be located 4.7 meters from the residential building on the same lot and will have a height of, what it says now is 5.18.
Right.
In effect, it will be 4.88.
Okay.
Now we go to variance number 9. And again, the final sentence of this variance is the ancillary building containing a garden suite will have a height of 5.18. We are changing that to 4.88.
So this doesn't affect any angular plane variances at all?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. All right, so I'll have you back after we hear from the opposition then.
Great.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Wilson.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. Can you just identify yourself, name and address for the record, please, sir?
Yes, my name is Todd Wilson, the owner of 2 Fir Avenue, bordering the 22 Fernwood to the west. We share a common garage wall that the intended build is to be placed upon.
Okay, sir, you just heard the amendment. It sounds like you've been talking to the agent and they've made an amendment to 2 variances. Are there still objections from yours?
Yes, there are.
Okay, sir, you have 5 minutes then. We're going to start the clock now, okay?
Okay, well, I'll make this quick. Obviously, this particular section of the beach is a very unique property. My property specifically borders 7 properties, as you can see in the drawing. First of all, my neighbors, wholly respect them and like them as people. However, this build is going to severely impact the livability of my property. Essentially, it's the mass and height and the, I guess, the angular plane situation, which the city has seemed to have spent, and many of the seminars I've watched online talk about that for livability of people's backyards, shadowing, sunlight, gardens, this kind of thing. In this particular case, the property is located in the backyard of Tammy Scott's or 22 Fernwood. However, it is in my front yard and backs onto, at least protrudes 8 feet beyond my front door of my house, as my garage actually protrudes approximately 8 feet to the street. In doing so, I have ground floor windows that look out onto this deck, onto a hobby garden, and it will become unviable for anything that requires much sun. It is the only real sun that is on the property, except in the front of my house where my entranceway is, and a small patio. So that's one thing. It's just the mass height of the building itself is going to severely impact my property. The other question I had is and I'm unsure of the building codes or how they measure a building, but certainly from street level, which is the proposed build level, is 5.72 meters, not 5.18 as the request was. So this will probably be, not probably, but let me read the numbers. It's going to be 8 feet above the front of my garage and 11 feet above the roof deck. The current level is approximately 3 feet or a meter. So I find this to be a dramatic change to my house when the city purportedly, in most of their seminars, is talking about putting these in backyards of homes, abutting backyards as well. And watching for setbacks, which I understand on a current building on a current non-conforming property is allowable. It certainly is going to severely impact my property. I'm just looking at my notes here. So really, to me, it is about the ability for me to see out a window that is on a main floor of my house, at the front of my house, not in the backyard. I could understand if this were in the backyard of other people's homes. We can all live with that. But in this particular case, it is in the front yard, considered the front yard of my house, and that would be consistent. The only thing in the front of my house is a roof garden and a deck. Then there's a street. On the petitions, it should be noted that that you just brought up, that many of those names are not adjacent properties. Some are on looking to the property, but there's the names are from the same household, at least in 2 of the cases, which I understand. Everybody can sign a petition. I did not go around the property and trying to find opposition to this. As I said, I respect my neighbors, but at the same time, I really need to voice my concerns about a build that's going to severely impact the livability, sunlight, all of those things to my home, and a home that really will get sun from about 1 o'clock to about 3 o'clock before it hits the house that is to the on Balsam Avenue to the west of me. So really, I'm left with no choice really to, grow things that we don't require sun. And having said that, I know they've made efforts to reduce the impact of this building by sloping walls and whatnot. However, there is a dormer window that sticks out pretty well to the edge of the building, adjacent to the wall that abuts my house.
Hello, Mr. Wilson. We will need you to wrap up as you have passed the 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm good. I'm good. I've really said what I needed to say. I'm the only thing I would ask, if it is possible, and you would like to come and visit this site and really see the impact that is going to happen here.
Okay,
Thank you very
sir.
much for your time.
Thank you. Panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. Clay, for Mr. Wilson?
I
And
have a
then
couple
Ms.
questions,
Chen?
if you wouldn't mind, Chair. First off, just looking at the lot fabric of this general area in the beaches, it would seem to me that it's unusual that this is one of the few where a house has been built mid-block on a east-west road or street. Most of them are back-to-back throughout the neighborhood. Is this a relatively new house, or has this house been there for some time? Do you know when it was built?
1901.
Oh, it's been there for like forever. Okay.
Forever, and then rebuilt in post-war, just post-war.
Okay.
It was a wood structure made into a brick structure with the original wood structure underneath it back in the 50s.
The other question I have is, in your correspondence, you refer to the garage as being, or the new build, proposed new build being about 1.8 meters and 2.7 meters from your house. Could you just describe that for me a little bit?
Absolutely. I have, if you look at the drawing of my house, or the survey they've provided, you'll show that my house is indented. Yes, where you're pointing there, you'll see where my house, I have a window where that arrow is, and then I have a window in the front, which used to be a porch to this house. So one's about, so they're different, 6 and 3 meter, 2 point something, and approximately 3 meters is the width of the garage, and then my house juts into it, both of which have full size windows that face towards the east, towards the approximately 1 meter wall that is Scott and Tammy's garage. And on top of that.
So where you say 1.8 meters distance, is that where that corner where your front facing window is?
Yes.
Okay.
It's facing to the east. It's not to the front. It's to the east. Both windows face to the east. One is in the porch area where it says lot, L-O-T. If you could point your pointer there. Yes, I don't know if I can point, but no, I can't. So on my house, the porch is the area to the front, the smaller area where it says lot, L-O-T. There is a window to the east, which is approximately 5 to 6 feet wide and 3 feet high. And then as you move into the house, the actual original house, which you're pointing at now, in that front right to the bottom corner, there's another window that is about 4 feet high and 3 feet wide.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Chen.
Yes, my question was to recap what's been discussed. I thought you have discussed with the applicants that so that they have reduced the height by a foot to 4.88. Are you still not satisfied with the reduction?
The original proposal was approximately 6 to 7 feet higher than the 3 feet that's already above my deck. So they're looking at 6, 7, 8, 9 feet above the actual deck height, or the height of the roof of the garage, and approximately it looks like they're moving it to 7 or 6 feet above the wall that exists currently. And
so I thought that you have asked to have it reduced. I thought that you agreed to the 4.88. Do you agree or not?
No, I did not agree with anything. There's an offer to reduce the height.
Oh, I see.
However,
Okay.
the impact is still severe at 6 feet. And given that the property really doesn't even is non-conforming and isn't 5 meters from their own principal residence, 4 meters is the actual law or the bylaw request, or the bylaw rule. So they are going 3.5, 4 feet above that in order to accommodate a garage. I have no problem with density and affordable housing. All of those things. We're already a very dense neighborhood, and I thought the city was really trying to densify less dense neighborhoods with larger lots, which it goes to the many variances requested because of the unique properties and the size of the lot they're trying to put it on. So the impact is still severe at 6 feet. It is just, I've put a pole up there and a line and looked at the sun in the summer and looked at the sun in the fall. And it really will severely impact my ability to have anything significant grow on my property other than directly in front of my house, which is the porch area.
Okay, are there any other questions, panel members? Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you.
Ms. Burke.
If we were a garage, we strictly as a garage, we're allowed to be 4 meters high. Our height is measured from the north wall. It's just the way it is. We are at the height of our combined garage and garden suite is 4.88 meters measured from the north wall. And that's where the height is taken from. We are essentially 2 feet above what we are allowed to do as right. So the idea that, yeah, we may be against our neighbor's garage, at the very front, we may be 6 feet, but that's not where the height is taken from, and that's not what the bylaw says we're ending up with. We have a total height of 4.88 meters, and we would be allowed to do a height of 4 meters, even if it was just a garage, a really tall garage. And I do reiterate that Mr. Wilson's house faces south, and the predominant sun, and the sun that plants need, is in fact afternoon sun, and it's from the south and from the west. We're not interfering with any part of that sun angle. I think it's a modest proposal. And it is definitely Mr. Wilson's house is unusual indeed. But I believe we're doing our very best to both provide a reasonable accommodation on our piece of property and respect the sight lines and properties of our neighbors.
Panel members, do you have any questions for Ms. Burke? All right, thank you. We're ready to take this into committee to make a decision. Ms. Hayes.
I'll start. I think what's being proposed here is too much in terms of what the garden suites bylaw is proposing. I recognize the existing setbacks for the garage that's there now, but it doesn't meet the angular plane requirements on 3 sides. The setbacks aren't there. I think this height isn't there, and I think the particular circumstances of this lot and the impacts on the adjacent property on Fir, I think are too much for this to be considered minor or appropriate, and I can't support the application. That would be my thoughts at the moment.
Mr. Clay?
I agree. I find myself quite sympathetic to Mr. Wilson's case. I was struck that this house has been there now for over 100 years. It's not like it was a new build that was squeezed in. The impact on his quality of life, I think, given the fact that he's front facing, that a large structure would impede his view and impede his light negatively. It is a prestige lot in a prestige neighborhood. You know, I don't know if this is going to be what we would call affordable rental. This is going to be higher end. It is a heavily densified area, at least this stretch anyways. I agree with the considerations from the setbacks and the separation distance from the principal residence. I agree with Joanne. I think it is too much for a very small lot and has a particular negative impact on the adjacent neighbor, and I can't support it either.
Okay, Mr. Reed and then Ms. Chen.
Thanks, Chair. I disagree with my colleagues. I'm hesitant to just partly because the garden suites bylaw is so fresh. I think that places a kind of extra weight on this. But I think just looking at what's being proposed, the fact that it's staying to the footprint of the existing garage, and is really located towards the front, I think it does retain light and sky view to the rear of number 2 in the morning. And sure, I think there are definitely going to be impacts on 2, but I think it is really kind of replicating to a much smaller extent what's there. I think it is a modest request over what is there and what would be permitted basically as a garage. So I'll be supporting it.
Ms. Chen.
Yeah, I was reading, and then my thought is this: most of the variance is due to existing condition, and I think I'm looking at they asking for 0.88 higher than it's going to be rebuilt as a garage, and I think with that little modest addition and to create a garden suite, I think I can support that. And the reason is also the explanation of where the orientation of the sunlight. And I think they both are facing south. There are large amount of time during the summer or the winter that they do have full light. And if you think about just adding another 3 feet, you get a garden suite. And also is facing, this is going to face a main street, like First Street, and I think that it actually will improve the street escape. I will be supporting this too.
Okay. I will weigh in on this one. I actually agree with Mr. Clay and Ms. Hayes. I think in particular for me, the fact that the angular plane isn't being upheld on 3 sides is a big concern to me, and I am also very sympathetic to the concerns raised by the neighbor. I appreciate the fact that the applicant has, tried to mitigate some of this, but I do think it's just squeezing a little bit too much into the site, and I think that the impacts on the neighbor are quite egregious. So I won't be able to support this application. All right. So let's vote on this then. Mr. Clay.
Well, I'll just move a motion to refuse this application.
Okay, and so the motion to refuse is moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? That carries, and Mr. Reed and Ms. Chan dissent. Okay, thank you. Okay, just give me a second before we go to, I think it's number 8. Okay, item number 8, 325 Salmon Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a covering letter from Mr. Fong, The agent, a rendering of the subject property came in our supplemental agenda, as well as photographs from the neighbor at 319 who had written a correspondence in opposition as well. That was in our regular agenda. I am showing 2 speakers. Do we have both speakers, staff?
Through you, Madam Chair, we have speaker number 1, not speaker number 2.
Okay, thank you. Perhaps, I don't know if you've tried already, but while I go to the agent, while he's doing presentation, perhaps you can try to reach them.
Yes, we are making attempts to reach speaker number 2.
Okay, thanks, Sabrina. All right, Mr. Fong, are you there?
Mr. Fong, you've been unmuted.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir, can you just identify yourself for the record?
Yes.
And then you have 5 minutes, sir, to do a presentation.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I am Stephen Fong, agent and architect for this proposal. What you have before you today are 4 variances for use, FSI, vehicular parking, and bicycle parking. This is an existing 26-unit, 4-story apartment building built in 1955. According to the current zoning bylaw, this is an existing non-conforming use. As such, there are 3 tests for this. Is the proposal does not substantially increase usability of the property? Our position is this is a modest project. It is to be built completely within the interior of the existing built form envelope. It essentially takes over some unused garages that have been used as storage and proposes 4 additional apartment units added to the existing 26 units. So the increase in FSI and GFA is very minor. We believe this does not adversely affect the surrounding properties or neighborhood in general. The proposal essentially follows a garden apartment, courtyard apartment model with a series of entries along the west side of the building. As we said, it's completely within the built form envelope. And finally, the use we are proposing is the same use as for the existing building.
Okay. Panel members, if you can hold your can you hold your questions till after we hear the opposition? Okay, great. Do we have Mr. Barbuto?
Mr. Barbuto, you have been unmuted.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, committee members. My name is Nick Barbuto, and I'm the homeowner at 319 Salmon Avenue, a 100-year-old plus home, which neighbors the applicant's investment property directly to the west of it. Before I get started, as a quick procedural note against the strong recommendation contained within the application form, the applicant chose not to reach out to me or other neighbors. Also, before I start, if that's okay, if you wouldn't mind pulling up the supplementary images PDF I submitted, it'd be greatly appreciated, as I'll reference this in just a bit. Before immersing myself in this process just a few weeks ago, I'd be classified as a complete Luddite in terms of zoning bylaws and in the Committee of Adjustment process. After watching hours of these proceedings on YouTube, you're all now YouTube famous in my household, by the way, and digging deep into the city's literature and guidance relating to the 4 tests the committee uses to evaluate applications, I believe I now have a much better understanding of what the committee is looking for when it grants or rejects applications. I say this only because I'm approaching this process with an open mind, an immense respect for well thought out plans for evolution, and a sincere love for my community, including the building residents at 325 Salmon. However, after reviewing this application and viewing it objectively through the lens provided by the Committee of Adjustment brochure issued by the city, which contains the 4 tests and guidance examples for each, it became extremely clear to me, and I believe it would for anyone who reads it, just how overreaching each of these 4 requested variances is, and just how misaligned they are with the interests of our neighbors, the community as a whole, and even residents of the building. While I won't regurgitate the entire contents of my written application that you read, I did want to use my time to highlight just a few of the objective aspects of my objections. Each one of these requested variances, just demonstrably speaking, does not only not meet the criteria provided by the city, but well exceeds it and flies in the face of the examples provided for this, by the city itself. For the sake of time, let's just focus on test number 1. Is the variance being requested actually minor? The city states that the change must be minor in both size and impact. In the same brochure, the city adds clarity to what it considers a minor variance by giving an example of a 5% overage to the building's height. The example used is one that is truly minor, a 5% overage for something that is already allowed. Buildings are obviously allowed to have a height. Now let's run test number 1 up against the proposed variances you're being asked to evaluate today, starting at proposed variance number 1, which states a dwelling unit is only permitted in a detached house or a semi-detached house. In this case, an additional 4 dwelling units will be located in an apartment building. Considering the wording alone, this is clearly not minor based on the city's example of what it constitutes as minor. The applicant is not only asking for something that is not permitted in an apartment building, dwelling units, they're proposing to add 4 of them, a mathematically infinite increase based on percentage alone. The outcome of this proposed not minor variance, creating 4 redundant entry and exits, which all point directly at a neighboring house, which happens to be mine. The proposed variance not only contradicts what it means to be minor in the eyes of the guidance provided by the city, it ignores the fact that 325 Salmon already has 2 entry and exits, which are used by all other residents in the building. So if you take a look at image number 1 in the PDF that I provided, this showcases the existing north entry and exit. If you take a look at image number 2, this showcases the existing south entry and exit. It also ignores that they already have a common corridor between these proposed units and used by the apartments on the same level on the east side of the building. Image number 3 showcases this existing common corridor, highlighted in yellow. As you know better than anyone here, not only is test number 1 focused on is the proposed change minor in size, which it's clearly not based on the guidance from the city, but it also asks the committee to consider if the proposed change is minor in impact. And I would say the answer is an easy no. Just a few examples. Have a look at image 7. Sorry to skip around with the images here, but this showcases the vantage point directly looking into my windows from just one of these proposed redundant entry and exits. Again, there are 4 of these being proposed. Image number 8, if you don't mind going there, showcases the apartments above these proposed redundant entry and exits, which will also, along with me, be subjected to the needless increase in noise created by these redundant entry and exits due to the echo chamber created between the brick walls of the apartment and my house. I literally can hear every conversation that happens between these spaces, and I'm sure, as you can imagine, this would only be exacerbated by this proposed change. And it's not just proposed variance, and that's just proposed variance number 1 in relation to test 1. Proposed variance number 2 asks you to consider an FSI that is over 250% of what the bylaw allows for as being minor. Proposed variance number 3 asks you to consider providing 0 vehicle parking spaces while requiring 30 as being minor for residents who clearly need it. Image number 6 showcases some of the building's residents parking outside of the boarded up garage doors, which have been left like this since January of 2020, while the building owners try to make it seem like residents don't use or don't need the parking, as they show in the letter in image number 5.
Mr. Barbuto, please, let's hear your final comments as we're...
Absolutely. I won't speak about variance number 4, which is the providing 0 parking spaces while requiring 30. Well, my written objection goes into how each of these 4 proposed variants fail each of the remaining 3 tests. I believe it's absolutely clear that based on test number 1 alone, this proposal fundamentally and demonstrably fails and hence should be rejected by the committee. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. Barbuto? Okay, seeing none, thanks again. Were you able to reach the second speaker, staff?
Through you, Madam Chair, no, we can proceed with the
Thank
agenda.
you. Mr. Fong? can you please address the issues raised by the neighbor?
Thank you for the opportunity to do so. I would remind the committee in my presentation, I presented that this is the existing building is a legal non-conforming use, and therefore the tests for whether or not this is these are acceptable variances would be different than the 4 tests of the Planning Act. And again, I remind everyone that this is modest in nature given the existing building that is there. Our thoughts about the addition of the new entrances is we feel this is an enhancement to the building. We feel that it presents the garden apartment courtyard model where in fact more entries are a better thing for a building rather than ganging up all entries into one location. We feel that with the landscape we're proposing and the entrances that in fact we're enhancing the existing building and we're doing it based on essentially a minor increase in the use of the building.
Mr. Fong, before I go to my members, can you tell me why you can't provide any bicycle spaces, parking spaces?
We did talk to a planning group, and we would be willing to have that variance struck and provide bicycle parking within the existing building.
Okay, so are you actually removing that variance then?
We would be willing to remove that variance number 4.
4? Okay, so we're deleting variance number 4?
Correct.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Panel members, do you have any other questions? Mr. Clay, then Ms. Chan, and then Ms. Hayes.
Thanks, Chair. You had one of my questions, but I did want to explore a little bit that strip of land between 319 and your building. It looks like from the site plan, it shows it being just over 9 meters, which is almost 30 feet, which is a reasonable separation distance, I think. But you're not asking for any parking or your 0 parking spaces, but that's a pretty big swath. And it looks like from the photos that residents from the building are using that as parking. So can you just talk about what that space is for and what it'll be used in the future, particularly given that it sounds like you're proposing to have 4 or 5 new entrances along that strip?
That is correct. We want to have the entrances along the strip and begin to make something like a courtyard on that side. We would be willing to explore some parking on that side, but we wanted to reserve the option of having that as a garden courtyard. We did feel that we were within the thoughts now of providing for units that essentially use mass transit. We did feel that that is in keeping with the current thinking of Toronto planning.
Okay, so I just want to be clear about, because you said a couple things there. You're sticking with your 0 parking space variance, or are you considering parking in the future? I wasn't sure what you were getting at.
We would consider parking in the future, but we would like to have that as an option that we explore rather than have that dictated at this time.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Chan.
Okay, so actually you answered part of my question. Is so you're going to make some improvement of the in that area, and since the your next door neighbor 319 Salmon, he's bordered by the number of new entrances. Are you propose some kind of screening or fencing so that he will not be able to see these entrances?
As a supplementary drawing, we did put in a rendering where you can see some landscaping, and this typifies the kind of courtyard situation we would like to create. we feel that it doesn't provide any more overlook than already exists in the upper 3 stories of the building, as you can see. As you can see, there already are a lot of windows facing to the west. And we feel the addition of these entryways and these new windows is really minor in nature, given the other 3 stories of windows. We also note that it's an unusual condition. Our neighbor's property is, I believe, 0.3 meters off of the property line. In today's bylaw, that would not be allowed. It would be 0.9 meters. And the building code wouldn't allow any windows on the side of his house under today's building code, because you'd have to be 1.2 meters back before any windows are allowed. So that's a non-conforming condition that he has.
Yes, and my question is, so since it's the existing condition, will you do something to mitigate the condition, so that provide some kind of screening to his windows? Yeah.
We would do that, and you can see that we're already looking at providing landscaping along that walkway, as you're seeing in the render.
Okay, that will be continuous all the way down on his side, right?
Correct. We're committed to wanting that to be a very attractive side of the building, and we see this as a situation where we're trying to improve this this area.
Thank you.
Ms. Hayes.
Thank you. I just want some more clarity furthering on some of the questions that Mr. Clay asked for. And you've talked about courtyard and things like that. Are you proposing that the current, aside from the walkway in front of what you're proposing for entrances to those units, that be amenity space or courtyard for the use of all the residents in that building?
Well, we would see it as potentially a drop-off court that at this time it would allow vehicles to come in to it. And we have not explored it beyond that point.
Well, you're exploring parking and you're exploring amenity space. I'm trying to understand exactly what the use of that area is going to be. As Mr. Clay pointed out, it is quite a large area. You're asking the committee to say you need no parking, but there's no clear plan as to what that space is going to be used for.
Our desire at this time is that it would be a multi-use court. So if somebody was getting a delivery or a package or something like that, a vehicle could pull in there, but that it essentially is a multi-use space where maybe residents could use it for various things. It's paved with semi-permeable paving, so it allows stormwater to percolate down. We saw it as a space that could be used in a variety of ways, which we'd like to explore with a landscape architect.
So I guess one of the reason why I'm asking some of these questions is the change to that space to potentially an amenity space potentially may have different impacts for consideration of appropriateness. So this is why I'm asking some of those questions.
I understand. I understand that.
So you're not, your answers are not giving me much certainty with respect to what the future plan is for that space, but that you don't want to provide any dedicated parking there. Is that correct?
We didn't want to be tied to that at this time.
Will you be allowing parking there, or you just don't want to be required to park there?
If this, we said we didn't want to be required to provide it. We would like to work with a landscape architect on this area, and we see it as hopefully providing something that betters the environment of the building.
So is this application then premature if you haven't quite determined what your vision is for the site?
We don't believe it is premature.
Okay, thank you.
I guess just to carry on this line, I'm just a little confused because to me a courtyard is, I'm looking at your rendering that came in the sup. To me, it looks like a driveway. When I think of a courtyard, it's a space where people can sit and, you know, there's green space, there's benches and whatnot. So I'm also a little confused on this particular topic. And then secondly, you mentioned you're gonna put permeable pavers. Is that on all your hardscape that's showing outside?
That's what we were looking at. This is an existing asphalted area completely done like that. Our application was really about putting in the apartments. And so we didn't feel we were at the design phase of identifying the specific use for this asphalted area. If it was necessary to move this forward, we would be willing to put as a condition there's an exploration for perhaps two parking spaces. And then the remainder of it being an amenity space. We would like to move ahead with the application, however.
Mm-hmm. And then just to Ms. Chan's point, like I'm looking again at your rendering. I'm not sure how accurate these trees are. Those the actual trees? Looks like there's one on the side. Are you able to do something like closer to the house? Because it looks like to buffer the neighbor. I mean, it doesn't, like you have a few shrubs in front of these new units you're proposing and the rest is just open space. So I don't see that as much of a buffer.
We would absolutely be willing to explore more extensive landscaping than is shown on this. Our interests are to make this significant improvements to this building.
Sabrina, can I just ask you to weigh in on this? If we were to entertain, you know, if an approval, how could we put that in as a condition then?
Through you, Madam Chair, I would caution putting in that condition only because it's not something that is before the committee today to review and consider.
Yeah, that was my thought. Like some of the things we've talked about, I think it's difficult for us to, put them in as conditions that can be enforced, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just before we move off, I'm just curious for context. What is the current, for the property, what are the current number of legal parking spaces?
I believe there are 0 legal parking spaces on this site, that it's not been laid out as parking. It's not in the, we did a routine disclosure to identify the existing plans. So we don't believe there is any. As we're saying, the existing garages were rented out as storage space for a number of years. And that's our understanding of the existing use of this.
So, but again, just don't want to belabor this point, but just from the photos that we've seen, it would appear that there is parking going on that area.
It would appear so, yes. There appears to be some.
Okay.
Mr. Reed?
Thanks, Chair. This is again towards the current paved area in the back, and just to the applicant, I understand your intent, but what you've shown in the package is quite different. There's no landscape plan in the site plan and no planting showing. There's your rendering, and there are some plantings shown in the elevations, but I think in the absence of that, what shows is a pretty dangerous situation. The cars could go directly up against these doors as proposed. Is there anything you have to say to that in terms of why you didn't include, at minimum, sidewalk and plantings in your drawings?
We did not feel that was what was before us as the variances we were applying for. So we simply replicated what was existing. We simply matched the survey, which you can see and is also part of this package. But we fully intend to put that strip and the landscape in on the proposal if it were to move forward.
Right, understood. But I think it's a difficulty for us because we have nothing to tie the approval to in terms of the landscape. Anyway, we'll talk about that in committee, I think. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions, panel members? All right, let's take it into committee then. Ms. Chen and then Mr. Reed.
Okay, I can start. I think that we all have the similar difficulties, is to say that they haven't really proposed anything, any work will be done in the asphalt area. But I think that given the what they're asking for, if they delete variance 4 and variance 1 is a non-conforming use anyway, so we are sort of looking at 2 variances, and given that I think I can support it, because it's very difficult to do the design for them now, to tell them what they have to do and why. So I'm not prepared to put any conditions in what they should put in that asphalt area.
Mr. Reed.
Thanks. I have no problems with the proposal in its intent in terms of adding units into these garage spaces, but I think that it's not well realized enough. I think that the landscape portion has to be considered for us to kind of fully understand what this would be like, and what we would be approving if we approved it just as is would be something that would be dangerous, I think, for the tenants of those spaces, and unpleasant, that you've got people walking right out into potentially an area with moving vehicles. So for that reason, I won't support it, but I do hope the applicant comes back with a more realized vision for that rear area. And I think even regardless of the neighbors' well put concerns, I think this is a supportable application with the landscape being realized.
Mr. Clay.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat. So I don't think anyone has any problem with intensifying and adding additional rental accommodation in the site. I just wonder, and I'll just throw this out for maybe we can chew on it or kick it around. So we're going to eliminate variance number 4, which is the parking, or the bicycle parking, which is great. But they've asked for a variance for car parking. So if we didn't approve that variance, would that compel the applicant to return just for dealing with that portion of the property with either a landscape ban or whatever variances they may or may not need to, I guess, rebuild or do whether they're planning to do a courtyard, whether they're planning to do amenity space, or whether they're planning to do 2 parking spots. Right now, they have no legal parking on site. So if I just throw this out, whether it makes sense or not, I'll defer to you guys. But if we refuse number 3, would that kind of trigger the applicant to return with a fulsome landscaping plan?
Ms. Chan.
Can I make one suggestion along that thought? Since they have already discussed that what they're planning to do, and with this and with that amenity space, what if we ask for, we can grant a deferral and ask for revised site plan or a site plan? I think that
Miss-
to refuse the variance, the parking, we will refuse the whole project, right? They cannot
Yeah, I
provide 30
think
parking.
some usually trigger others. I would be more inclined to go with a deferral, but Ms. Hayes.
That's why I sort of asked the applicant the question. I'm just, to Mr. Reed's point from the safety perspective of those units, but also the use of that space, people parking in it now. I guess there was garages before, they're not there now or not usable now, but people are parking there. But the thought of amenity space and courtyards, the reality of that vision, whatever it may become a different reality for the actual use of the property and the impacts on the neighbors. You know, you could have no, like, you know, if it is true a courtyard and there's going to be tables and benches and people visiting or barbecues or whatever the case might be, that might be a different consideration in terms of impact above what would be the exits to the new units. So I think in this particular case, there's been a lot of talk about what they might want to do, but I think for us to properly consider it, I don't think we have enough information before us on what the use might be of that large space. So I would support a deferral.
Okay. Ms. Chan.
So I have a motion or not? Are you ready for motion?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I would like to move a motion to defer for the reasons that a site plan is required for our consideration, for Committee of Adjustments consideration.
Like showing landscape and potential
Yes,
parking.
landscaping and screening and parking area and many, all that he has talked to us, said to us, so.
Okay, and would you be okay if we also add in there that consultation take place with the adjacent neighbor regarding screening?
Sure, that's always a good idea, yeah.
Okay, so that motion then, do I have a seconder for that? Mr. Clay, so the motion is to defer the application so that the applicant can come back with the site plan that shows, you know, the intention of parking, also show the permeable pavers, and also consult with the neighbor. And that's moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Mr. Clay. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Item number 9, 99 Ludy Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a copy of the revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations, and correspondence expressing an interest. No name was provided. And I am showing one speaker in support. Do I have the agent on the line?
Hi, Max, you've been unmuted.
Good morning, committee. Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Max Murchison, and I'm the agent for this application.
Okay, sir. Just give me 1 second. Staff, do we have the person who's in support on the line?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, we do have the speaker in support.
Okay, can we go to that speaker then before we go for questions?
Sheldon, you are unmuted.
Yep, can you hear me?
Hi, Mr. Rukowski. Do you have anything running in the background because it's echoing really bad?
He's logged in on 3 accounts. I'm just going to expel the other 2.
Okay, thanks.
How's that?
Yeah, I can barely hear you now.
Okay, I don't really have much to say. I'm just here because I know the property for 25 years. So if there was anything that came up, I really don't want to take a lot of your time.
Okay, and you're at 183 Finch Avenue West?
That's the office address, yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions for the agent? No? All right, Mr. McKazen, we're ready to take this into committee to make a decision. Panel members do not have any questions. Anything you want to add before we go into committee? You there, Max?
Yes, I hope you guys can hear me. And no, not really a lot to add, just to explain clearly the situation. This square footage came in due to the fact that the bylaw allows 2 secondary unit, and both of them were included in the calculations. Really, the apartment that we're proposing is within the 45%. Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Let's take it into committee for a decision. Mr. Reed? You're muted.
Pardon me. There's
That's
one
okay.
variance being requested and it's 2% over the permitted. So I think that's extremely minor, and the result of this is an additional rental unit in an area that can need it. So I see no negative impacts and move approval with no conditions.
Seconded by Ms. Hayes. So motion to approve, moved by Mr. Reed, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Item number 10, 1254 Davenport Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of trees on the property, covering letter from Mr. Galbraith, the agent. We have forestry asking for condition number 2. Alrighty, I'm showing, staff, I'm showing 1 speaker in opposition. Do we have that person?
We do not. We've tried to make contact and she's not on the line.
Okay, thank you. Do I have Mr. Galbraith?
Yes, we do. Mr. Galbraith, you are unmuted.
You're on behalf of the application.
Hi. You're speaking on behalf of, because I'm also showing Eddie Perez listed here. You're speaking on behalf of the owner, right?
Yes, correct. I'm the planner retained.
Okay. So Mr. Perez is just there if you need additional information then, because I'm showing him as the son of the owner.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Panel members, do you need a presentation on this one? No? Do you have any questions for Mr. Galbraith? Doesn't look like we have any questions, Mr. Galbraith. Is there anything you want to add before we take this into committee for a decision?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward and largely due to the interesting topography of the site.
Okay, panel members, let's take it into committee for a decision then.
Through you, Madam Chair, can we just get Eddie Perez on the line?
Sure.
I just want to make sure that he doesn't have anything.
Mr. Perez, you are unmuted.
Good morning, committee, Madam Chair. I'm the son of the owner at 1252 Davenport Road, which is the neighboring unit to 1254. I got 2 concerns. One is the amount of noise
Nope. Eddie, hold on a second. If you are speaking in opposition, then we will have to go back to the agent to provide a 5-minute presentation, and then we will have you.
Actually, Madam Chair, just if I can just ask Mr. Perez, like, because he expressed noise, which is not under the committee's jurisdiction, although we can ask the agent to speak to it. But is there anything with respect to the variances themselves that you're objecting to, or is it construction related?
It's construction, and the unit in the back kind of protrudes out where my mother's garage is in the back. I'm just concerned that might be a safety issue, as like a blind spot when people are turning in, because the new unit protrudes. On the site plan, it doesn't have the exact dimension of the protrude. It does have the 6 feet setback to the property line, but it doesn't have it that it protrudes out that much. So my concern is that when people are coming out of that garage or coming from the opposite side of the laneway where there's a bit of a hill where it loops up the road, someone is going to smack right in there, and it's a pinch point. My concern.
Okay, so those are your two concerns then, noise
Yep.
and that
Yep.
it's a safety concern for potentially people, you
Yep.
know, that would be living there and or people
Coming in and out. Because our garage gets hit all the time, and I don't know if a study on peak time volume has been done. I'm not sure, but again, I don't live there, and
Okay.
so
Okay, let me go back to Mr. Galbraith then and see if he can speak to those particular issues.
Sure. So yeah, there is a corner. You can see sort of there in the image the road turns to the north. The where the car is currently shown there on the site plan, that was the original location of the garage on the property. And by shifting the laneway suite to the east, I think would be towards the Mr. Prez's mother's garage. This actually creates less of a visual impediment. It's shifting the building sort of south and east away from that corner. It opens up that space a little bit more by having that uncovered parking space. So I think that actually improves the current situation. As for noise, I don't think that it's going to be a noise issue to certainly to 1252. We're proposing a very modest little deck for the laneway suite, but it's on the other side away from his mother's property. And I also would note that there really aren't any rear windows or doors at the back of those adjacent properties that would sort of face the backyard. And the backyard is the old Lake Iroquois shoreline.
Okay, and I know it's not our jurisdiction, but construction, do you any idea how long it'll be, or you know, assurances that you know it won't be blocked or anything like that?
Certainly wouldn't block any access to the garage. Construction noise is an unfortunate aspect of construction, and the property is under construction right now through renovations to the main dwelling into a fourplex with building permits. So unfortunately, they've been living through some, I'm assuming, some construction noise already. It will, of course, be done as quickly as possible and with as little disruption as possible, but I would imagine there might be a little bit of some.
Okay, can I have Mr. Perez again for 1 second, just to make sure everything's been answered?
yeah, no, I get it. You know,
Mr. Perez, so
Yep,
does
I'm
that
here.
answer all your questions?
Yeah, unfortunately, it comes with the territory. My concern is that the laneway dwelling has already been erected. It's up. You can see from the pictures. So I don't know if anything. Well, if the planner is assured that it's not going to be an issue, I know that things look pretty when it's all presented, but the day-to-days things change. So you know, it's not much that I can say, but I'm just concerned.
Okay, sir. Well, thank you very much for your input.
Just to clarify, the laneway suite isn't up.
It is not up. It looks from the pictures you took facing to the windows of 1252. It looks like there is an erection from the picture.
No, there's some construction hoarding, and
I lost
there we go.
Mr.
Now I'm
Galbraith.
unmuted. There we go. Yeah, there's basically it's the where the old garage used to be. There's a flat piece of tableland there, but there's no laneway suite on it yet. We don't have permission for one yet.
Great, thanks.
Okay. Welcome. Mr. Clay has a question for Mr. Galbraith.
I do. So first off, thanks, Sean. Really appreciate the cover letters. They're very, very helpful, and the renderings that you do. I frankly, I wish every agent would send in a cover letter like that. I noticed you're a little light on rear landscaping, and I'm just looking at the site plan or soft landscaping. Looking at the site plan, So there's a deck and some stairs. Are those going to be constructed out of wood?
Wood. The stairs, I believe, are concrete. So the deck actually isn't part of the rear yard soft landscaping calculation. So it's only the space between the front wall of the laneway suite and the back wall of the fourplex. In my cover letter, I highlighted that area. The deficiency is, oh, sorry, I've been told by the architect that the new stairs are steel because of the fire rating of them. But because there are rear entrances to the fourplex, that we require walkways and staircases, again, because of the slope of the backyard. And so those take up more space than you would otherwise see in a backyard. Minimum widths of walkways and such.
Yeah, I'm more interested just if it is wood. I mean, I get that's not a part of the landscaping calculation, but if it is wood, it will allow rainwater to permeate through, right? And similarly with steel stairs.
Yes, they're definitely permeable in that respect.
Yeah, that's really what I was just after. I mean, it's not part of the calculation, but it helps satisfy any concern about
definitely
the proportion of soft landscaping in the rear.
Mm-hmm. I would
Okay.
agree with that, yes.
Thanks.
Did I see someone else's hand up, members? No? Okay, we're ready to take this into committee then. Anything you want to add, Mr. Galbraith, before we go into committee?
No, I think it's a pretty reasonable, was effectively a one-story laneway suite above grade. Certainly a lot less than might otherwise be contemplated.
Okay, thank you. Let's take it into committee, panel members. Mr. Clay and Mr. Reed, you put your hands up at exactly the same time.
Go ahead, Larry. Go ahead, Larry.
Well, and I'll defer the next one to you, Peter. Yeah, I think this is quite a supportable application. It is a busy thoroughfare along Davenport. It does have lots of public transit. I thought the design of the laneway house was very sympathetic to the landscape and the slope towards Davenport. While it is effectively a two-story laneway, it only presents as one story from above, which I thought was quite unique. There really aren't any variances other than the landscaping for the laneway suite. I thought it was a good design, and I think it's quite supportable. I'm happy to move a motion to approve this application unless my colleagues have something or Peter has anything to add, subject to forestry condition number 2.
Okay.
Condition.
Yeah, he just said that. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Mr. Reed? Okay, so motion to approve, including forestry number 2, moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Okay, I believe Mr. Galbraith is with us for the next one also. So that would be 141 Dewhurst Boulevard. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 5 photographs of trees on the property, covering letter from the agent. Forestry is asking for condition number 1 on this one. We have 4 form letters in support from residents on Dewhurst Boulevard, including 143, which is adjacent. Do I have the agent on the line?
Hello again, Sean Galbraith, planner here on behalf of the application.
I think you're here for the next one too, actually.
And 2 this afternoon.
Yeah. Well, busy day. Okay. Panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. Galbraith? No? Okay, we have 3 variances before us. We don't have any questions, Mr. Galbraith. We're ready to make a decision on this one.
Great. I think it's a pretty
Anything-
straightforward one.
Yeah, you have nothing else to add then?
Nope.
Okay, thanks. All right, let's take it into committee, panel members. Ms. Hayes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that what's being proposed here, based on the written submissions, does appear minor in the immediate context of this block and also the broader neighborhood. Although the lot coverage looks quite high. The garage takes up quite a substantial amount of that. I feel that it's appropriate, and I don't think that there's any adverse impacts from what's being proposed. And if my colleagues have no comment, I would make a motion to approve the application subject to forestry condition number 1.
Okay, do I have a seconder, Ms. Chan? Okay, motion to approve, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Ms. Chan, including forestry number 1. All in favor? Okay, that carries unanimously. Item number 12, 249 Withrow Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 2 photographs of the subject property. We have 3 covering letters from Mr. Galbraith, the agent, and I don't show any opposition speakers. Panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. Galbraith? We have 1 variance before us. No questions? Mr. Galbraith, is there anything you want to add before we go into committee?
Nope, another pretty straightforward one. And I note that the that permeable pavers will be used where possible.
Okay.
Basically taking care of the rest of the soft landscaping.
Okay. Panel members, we're in committee. Ms. Chan.
I think this is quite straightforward application, although I like to see more landscaping. But if we put conditions that all the paved area will be a permeable material, I'm ready to move a motion to approve with that condition.
Okay. So that's seconded by Ms. Hayes. So the motion is to have the hardscape impermeable pavers. And that's moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? That carries unanimously. We'll see you this aft, I guess, Mr. Galbraith. Okay, item number 13, 107 Winchester Street. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of the subject property, a covering letter from the owners, site specifics or site statistics rather, prepared by Monica Kuhn Architect Inc. We have email correspondence from planning, the Heritage Division, and they have a condition that's in the report. Okay, and I'm not showing any speakers other than the agent. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, we do. She's unmuted.
Okay.
Hi there, it's Monica Kuhn. I'm the architect and agent for the owners.
Hi, Monica. You're aware of the heritage condition?
Yes, it's standard. They just
it
have
is.
a chance to review the drawings at permit, which is fine with us.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions for Ms. Kuhn? Anybody? Mr. Clay?
Just a question on the 3rd floor deck. Are you proposing any screening?
Right now there is, those are the wrong drawings. There is quite a high fence around the deck already on the neighboring side, on the west side. I presume we'll be keeping the same height.
Sorry, on as well on the east side, or?
I think it's equal all the way around. I think it's like 4 or 5 feet.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Is that on, that's included in your plans?
It should be on the elevations.
So you'd be okay if we did approve, we could tie this to plans?
Yep, no problem.
Great, thanks.
Anybody else a question? No? All right, Ms. Kuhn, we're ready to make a decision on this. Anything you want to add before we go into committee?
Only that we have talked to, the clients have talked to all of the surrounding neighbors, and I have a late letter of support from 103, but we had no verbal objections from anyone. And there is a big deck on there right now. There is an existing pop-up on the third floor, and we would just be extending that and then cutting the size of the deck down.
Okay, thank you. Let's take it into committee then, panel members. Mr. Reed?
Thanks, Chair. I think this is a very reasonable application. The height on the third floor is really, it's toward the front of the property compared to its neighbors. And so I think the risk of overlook or impact on neighbors is very minimal. I think that the neighboring houses go quite a bit deeper. So I move approval of the application subject to the heritage condition and as per Larry's recommendation, tying it to side elevations and site plan, please.
Okay, and Ms. Chan, you want to second that? Okay, so that motion with the heritage condition and tying to side elevations and site plan moved by Mr. Reed, seconded by Ms. Chan. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Item number 14, 165 Westlake Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. And I am only showing the agent as a speaker. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, we do. Mr. Bongers, you are unmuted.
Excuse me. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Rick Bongers, 75 Redwood Avenue, acting as agent on behalf of the homeowner.
Good morning, sir. Panel members, do you have any questions for the agent? Ms. Hayes.
Just a quick question about lot coverage. What's the existing lot coverage, and is what you're proposing representative of what's found in the area?
Existing lot coverage is approximately somewhere around 43%. And what we're proposing is, suitable within the general neighborhood. The house is on the smaller side of homes that are within the neighborhood, but nonetheless, it does trigger the footprint variance.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else have a question? Okay, Mr. Bongers, we're ready to make a decision on this. Anything you want to add before we go into committee?
Just that I feel it's a suitable development of the property and it's appropriate for the neighborhood.
Okay, we're in committee, panel members. Ms. Hayes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think what's being proposed here is indeed reasonable. I think that the property to the north is larger, and the property to the south it looks larger than what's being proposed here. I think that it meets the 4 tests, and I would like to move approval of the application, and I don't believe there are any conditions.
No, there aren't. Do I have a seconder? Mr. Reed, so a motion to approve moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Item number 15, 18B Dawson Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of the subject property, additional photographs received in our supplemental agenda, and correspondence expressing concern and interest from number 16, which is adjacent. I'm not showing any speakers other than the agent on this one. Do we have the agent on the line?
Yes, Mr. Tusi, you're unmuted. Mr. Tusi, you can go ahead.
Can you hear me? Can you hear
Barely.
me?
I can barely hear you. If you're still talking, I can't hear you at all now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Can you just identify yourself for the record?
Sure. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Sean Tusi. I'm the office principal at Mimar Architects, Inc. representing the owners today.
We don't need a presentation. Before I go to the members, I read the neighbor at 16 would like that the porch like can't be enclosed and used as habitable space. Have you talked to them about that at all?
Yes, Madam Chair. It is in fact what the proposal is all about. There is an existing enclosed porch there, and the owner would like to open it up. So that's exactly the proposal. So it just needed a clarification that the proposal is in fact to open up that enclosed front porch.
So you wouldn't have a problem with the condition then that the porch can't be enclosed?
We are fine with that. Yes. Should the committee decide to approve the application, that would be absolutely fine.
Okay, thank you. Panel, Mr. Clay.
Well, I think the obvious thing that I think strikes all of us is the 0% front landscaping. So I do notice from the street, it looks like there's a curb cut. Is that a legal parking spot in front, a legal parking pad?
Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, it is. And that's exactly as you notice, there is an existing curb cut. The zero landscaping is purely an existing condition. We have actually added a purely existing legal condition. The reason you need to reapprove it is because the front is changing. And as a result, the examiner was insisting that variance sort of re-kicks in and the committee needs to reapprove it just to be on a safe side. But to your point, it is a legal existing that needed sort of reapproval because of the modification to the front porch. We do have a photo that shows that front zero landscape back from 2017. It's not this one. If you can go, we have like a 3 photos side by side. It's not in the package. It should be something that we submitted a week ago. Hopefully you do have it, but if it is not, I hope you trust me in that yes, it has been there for at least, yes, this one, yes. So 2007, you can see there is no literally landscape. 2019, there is no landscape. In 2022, there is no landscape. It has not changed. It's literally the same thing.
No, I think we get that it's an existing condition. It does look like it's kind of those old style roundy concrete pavers. Is there anything you could do to help us by increasing the permeability of that driveway?
The new proposal is going to be the same thing. It's going to be permeable. Should the committee decide to approve the application, we're also fine with adding a condition for the permeable.
Yeah, I think that's good because those pavers that you have there are not permeable, but the new form, the new type can be. So that would be great if we could make that driveway permeable.
Any other questions? Okay, Mr. Tusi, we're ready to take it into committee. Anything you want to add before we do so?
Chair, that we believe it meets the 4 tests. It's a really, variances are very much technical in nature, and it's really legalizing what has already been there for over, at least according to Google, at least for 15 years. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, panel members, let's take it into committee. Ms. Chan.
Okay, of course, the landscaping is a problem, but I mean, it's not a good argument saying that it's been there for 15 years because at that time, I think the concern of landscaping was not as urgent as now that we are looking at this situation. I wish they actually, since they're building the porch, they probably should incorporate some landscaping. But given that, having said that, I don't think the application is not supportive, and I think I can still support it if given the condition that they will use permeable paver for the parking area.
Okay, anyone else?
You wanted, didn't you want to put in about the front porch not being
Yeah,
enclosed?
and a condition, I didn't realize that was a motion yet, but yes, if it is a motion, then
Is
I'd
it a
like it.
motion? Okay, I move for, yeah, it is a
Okay.
motion for approval.
So a
with the
condition then, so a condition of approval is that the driveway be impermeable pavers. And then another condition that the porch cannot be enclosed and used as habitable space.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Okay, so that motion is moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Mr. Clay. All in favor? That motion carries unanimously. Guys, I'd like to take 5 minutes.
I dissent on that one.
You dissented? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't catch. Okay, and Joanne dissents. Can we take 5 and come back at 11:40?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, that's fine.
Thank you, Sabrina. Oh, sorry. Okay, staff, are you guys ready to go? Sabrina?
We're just waiting for Sabrina to get back.
Okay, thanks.
Through you, Madam Chair, we can start again.
Great, thanks. Okay, the next item is item number 16, 146 Gillard Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Correspondence in support from 144, which is adjacent, as well as a 7-signature petition in support of residents on Gillard Avenue. And I don't show any other speakers except for the agent. Do we have the agent on the line?
Yes, we do. He's unmuted.
Thank you. Mr. Goldman, are you there? Mr. Goldman?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. Can you just identify yourself for the record?
Sorry, it's Barry Goldman. I'm the architect and the agent for the owners on this application. I believe the application is minor and meets the 4 tests. I'm happy to make a presentation if the committee would like one, or answer any questions if they have it.
Okay, I don't think we need a presentation. Ms. Chan, you have a question?
Yes, I do. You have a deficiency in the rear yard soft landscaping. I noticed on the site plan you actually have a very large paved area. Do you think you can increase your soft landscaping?
Yes, the existing condition is that the entire rear yard is currently paved in asphalt. And you'll see this kind of funny jiggity jog shape we made really was to facilitate a vehicle being able to back up and turn around so as to head forward out the driveway. So it's really a safety consideration. And we actually did do a turning diagram to see if we could. So what you see before you is the most landscaping we can, soft landscaping we can put there while still allowing a vehicle to do a kind of a 5-point turn, but make its way to drive straight out the driveway. I'll add, similar to most of the other proposals you've seen, we're replacing the existing asphalt with permeable paving in order to mitigate the hard landscaping issue.
Okay, any other questions, panel members? Mr. Reed?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, to the applicant, I noticed that there's a washroom proposed in the garage, and I just want to make sure that this is not intended to be used as habitable space.
No, the intention is that the owner wants to do woodworking in the garage, and the idea was to give him a workspace. It's not intended to be a dwelling unit. There is a 2-piece washroom.
Okay,
really
thanks.
Just so he doesn't have to walk back to the house.
Understood.
Any other questions? Okay, anything else you want to add? We're ready to take it into committee, Mr. Goldman.
No, I don't think I have anything to add. Thank you.
Okay, so should the committee choose to approve this, you'd be okay with, well, you're aware of the planning conditions?
Yes, we're aware of them and they're fine.
And should the committee choose to do so, would you be okay with the condition that the garage not be used as habitable space and that permeable pavers be used for the hardscape?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's take it in Ms. Chan.
You have asked the questions I wanted to ask. Yes, with there are 4 conditions, 2 from the committee and 2 from the planning staff. With those, I've moved. The rest, I think, is minor, and I can support that. And with those conditions, I move for approval.
Okay. Do I have a seconder? Ms. Hayes? Okay, so the motion is to approve the application, including the conditions that we received from planning, as well as a condition that the garage not be used as habitable space and that permeable pavers be used for the hardscape on the site. So that's moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Thanks. Item number 17, 76 Brunswick Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a copy of a revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of the subject property, a covering letter from the agent, and we have staff reports from transportation asking for a condition, as well as planning's asking for a condition. Forestry's asking for condition number 2. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, we do. It's going to be Charles MacPhail speaking, and he is unmuted.
Okay, so Mr. MacPhail is speaking in front instead of Mr. Graham.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Hi, can you
Morning.
just identify yourself for the record?
Good morning, committee. My name is Charles MacPhail. I'm acting as the agent today in place of Graham, who works with me for this project at 76 Brunswick Avenue.
Okay, I just have something written in my notes here. In the late material we got, it spoke about a green roof plus the rear yard equals 78% softscape, which is 90.3 meters squared. Are you changing any variances at all, or is that just you wanted us to know?
No, this doesn't change any of the variances. It was
Okay.
originally not proposed to be a green roof. In
Okay.
discussions with planning, we changed it to a green roof as we acknowledged that we were deficient on landscaping in the rear yard.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Ms. Chan, you have a question?
Yes, I do have a question, maybe to both of you. If we take the transportation condition, which is they want to have the rear yard setback to 1 meter, does it mean that we delete variance number 3? If we're going to impose that condition.
If I can just speak to transportation's comments for 1 second. We determined the setback of 0.7 meters so that we would conform with the requirement of being 2.5 meters to the center line of the laneway. So we were a bit thrown off by their comments of requesting us to move it farther back because we've conformed with what they were asking for initially.
So you mean that we should ignore that report?
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure on what they're actually asking for, because what they're asking for, we're providing it. We're providing a 2.5 meter setback to the center line of the road. I'm not sure how they came up with their numbers. The location of the garage we proposed also is very consistent with other garages on the laneway. The garages on the laneway, several of them, even within a few properties of ours, are right up to the property lines at 0 setbacks. So to be 0.7 meters, we think is still, although it's closer than we should be, still within keeping in the general characteristic along that alleyway.
Any other questions, panel members? Okay. We're ready to take it into committee for a decision. Is there anything you'd like to add, sir?
No, we've reviewed the rest of the conditions. We're happy with what planning has said. Forestry, yes, I believe there's a tree on the front yard that we'll have to protect and possibly get a permit to injure. Apart from that, transportation had the only other comment requesting that we move the garage, but I believe as we've set it on the site, we conform with the intent of their interpretation and wanting it to be 2.5 meters from the center line of the alleyway.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Panel
Thank you.
members, let's take it into committee.
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair. We did have one speaker registered to speak in concern. However, we've made multiple attempts and have not been able to get her on the line, so we can proceed.
Okay, thank you very much for putting that on the record. Okay, panel members.
I have a comment to make.
Yeah, go ahead.
To the other members, what do you guys think? I think I'm satisfied with the explanation that the setback is 2.5 from the center of lane, and just to ignore the transportation condition to ask them to increase the setback to 1 meter. So means that to ignore their report really. So what do you think?
From my if the applicant feels that they've satisfied it, then I don't think there's any harm in leaving it in. That way, I mean, I just don't understand the vagaries between what planning is saying and what he's saying. So if the applicant has met it, then keeping it in shouldn't be a problem.
Oh, no. Okay. You cannot, because it's a contradiction. What it is that variance of 3, they are asking for 0.7 meter setback. By transportation asking them to move back a foot, like 1 meter. So, but they do not want to do that because the argument is that the 0.7 meter setback already satisfy the intention of the width of the laneway, which is 2.5 from the center of the laneway. So either we ignore the transportation recommendation or condition to approve the variance as 0.7, not 1 meter.
I would tend to agree with Ms. Chan because based on the variance, if they move it the 0.3, then they can't maintain the 2.5 from the center line, and that's in essence what transportation's always asking for. That's the way I'm reading it anyway. Ms. Hayes.
Could we simply say, not accept the exact wording of transportation, just say transportation condition that the setback allow for an overall clearance of 2.5 meters and not put in what they say is the 1 meter setback?
Can I maybe come out of committee?
That covers that it still has to be 2.5, but to Yim's point that if the 0.7 meets the 2.5, transportation should still be satisfied.
Shall I, can I just come out of committee and just get Sabrina's take on this? Sabrina, can you just weigh in on what we should do with
Through
this?
you, Madam Chair. If they were to provide a minimum of 1 meter from the rear lot line, then they wouldn't require this variance. What I'm hearing from the applicant is that them proposing 0.7 meters from the rear lot line, that they're still able to meet the 2.5 meter center line of the abutting property, or the abutting laneway, the clearance for that. Transportation is more or less requesting that they meet this regulation of the 1 meter and remove the variance altogether. My only concern is if they were to push the ancillary building 1 meter away from the rear setback, would that do anything to variance number 4? Would they lose a little bit of soft landscaping in the rear?
Sabrina, but if we put in a condition that is not the exact wording of the staff report from transportation, but simply says the proposed garage must provide an overall clearance of 2.5 meters from the center line of the lane, then at least we're, in case we've read something wrong or the applicant isn't quite right, transportation is still covered, but we're not putting in their 1 meter.
1 meter. That can work as well, yes.
Thanks.
Okay, so the condition then would be that they are to provide 2.5 meters from the center line.
I believe the condition would be that they provide an overall clearance of 2.5 meters from the center line of the lane.
Overall
That
clearance.
the proposed detached garage
Okay.
must provide
so-
an overall clearance of 2.5 meters from the center line of the lane.
Okay. And then not adopt the staff report at all, and that replaces it.
Yes, that's what
That's
I
correct.
think we should make
Okay.
that decision. Yeah, I'm happy with that decision. Yeah.
Okay, is there any other comment then? If not, Ms. Chan, go ahead.
Yeah, with that condition, Joanne suggested, I would like to move for approval. And also, what about they have proposed a green roof?
So
on
there's
the
also
garage?
the forestry condition number 2, and there's a planning condition also.
Yeah, yes, that's true. But what about the green roof? Are we going to put that as a condition? Well,
That's in planning's report, isn't it?
It's in the planning report
Yeah,
recommendation. Yeah.
as is screening for the deck
For the
as well.
roof. Yeah, it
Yes,
says maintained
but
as a green roof.
Yes, and all that, with all that conditions.
Okay, so forestry condition number 2, the planning condition, and I hope I'm reading this right, to provide overall clearance of 2.5 meter from the center line. And that's moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Ms. Hayes. That's all in favor? So that's approved with those conditions. Item number 18. 65 Yardley Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, correspondence from the agent, presentation material we received in the supplemental yesterday. We have 2 form letters in support, which is from both adjacent neighbors at 63 and 67 Yardley. Only showing the agent as a speaker on this one. Do we have the agent on the line?
Yes, we
Yes, I am.
do.
Good morning, Madam Chair and panel members. My name is Yu Thong Leong. I'm the agent architect for 65 Yardley. This is a very modest ask, and I'll be happy to make that presentation if required. Otherwise, I'll be happy to submit to the panel.
Okay, I thank you. I don't think we need a presentation. Panel members, we have 2 variances before us. Do you have any questions for the agent? Okay, sir, we're actually ready to make a decision on this. Is there anything you want to add before we go into committee?
Nope.
All right. Okay, we're in committee. Ms. Hayes?
I think this is really indeed minor. It's certainly not out of character. We see a lot of this. If my colleagues have no further comment, I'd like to move for approval of the application on the condition that the front yard setback be limited to the first floor.
Okay, just write that down. Okay. Okay, so with that condition that the front yard setback be limited to the first floor, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Ms. Chan, all in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you. Item number 19, 123 Glenmount Park Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, tree protection plan prepared by P&A Urban Forestry Consulting. We have email correspondence from Ravine and Natural Feature Protection, as well as the TRCA, and neither one have any conditions. Apparently no trees are impacted. And I am showing 2 speakers. I'm not sure, maybe staff, can you clarify? The daughter, no, 31 Ipswich. Okay, so do you have the second speaker?
Yep, we have the agent on the line, and we have Janice Caruana also on the line to speak.
Do you know if that person's in opposition or not?
We can ask them.
Yeah, can you? Okay, maybe I'll just ask them first and then I'll go to the agent. Thanks.
Hello?
Hi.
Yes, I'm in opposition. I'm Janice Caruana.
Okay, thanks. So I'll have the agent do a
You're welcome.
presentation and then I'll come back to you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Madam Chair and the members of the committee. This is Mehrdad Kulur. I'm the owner of 123 Glenmount Park Road. We're proposing to build an extension in the back of our property. And because our family is growing, we need more space. And so the extension includes a living room on the main level and also 2 bedrooms on the second floor. So basically, we're moving the extensions to moving the bedrooms to be on the extension side. In terms of the variances requested, we are requesting for additional floor space index, and that's because we'd like to keep the existing structure of the house as intact as possible. And the only way to do that was to basically keep the doorways and windows and convert them to keep the windows, exterior windows, and convert them to doorways to access the extension part. And for having like a good size bedroom, we needed, like we thought, the proper size bedroom would need at least 4 meters depth, and therefore we need that additional space. We have contacted TRCA, RNFP. They didn't have any objections to the application. And the house already has a driveway, which is what we use for parking. So we're not adding any additional, like a street parking. So we're not impacting that at all. And yeah, and then I'll be here if you have any questions. And also, we are building a wood deck in the back of the property in the rear yard, which is kind of connecting to the extension part. And we're also complying with the soft landscaping and everything else.
Okay, we'll hold our questions until we hear from the opposition, and then I'll come back to you.
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Ms. Caruana.
Hello, my name is Janice Caruana, and I am the owner of 121 Glenmount Park Road, which is the semi-detached dwelling that is connected to 123 Glenmount Park Road. An exhaustive list of my concerns with the proposal are set out in the letter that I filed with the committee staff last week. This morning, I will be focusing on some of the major issues and that you refuse the application. Test of impact. I would like to start with the unacceptable impact that the proposal will have on my property from a privacy and overlook perspective. If the application is approved, the new construction will extend almost 14 feet further deep than our adjoining semi-detached home and be 23.5 feet in height. To make matters worse, the rear elevation has been designed to include massive windows and stare right down into our backyard. Given that this is a semi-detached dwelling and we as a next-door neighbor are particularly impacted by the design, you would think that the applicant would have incorporated mitigation features such as privacy fences, additional landscaping, or even removal of the enormous windows. I would ask that the application be refused on the basis that the proposal will have an unacceptable adverse impact on us as the immediate neighbor. The refusal will also provide the applicant with an opportunity to improve the current design, which has blatant disregard for the existing context. Official plan zoning bylaw. This refusal would also be consistent with the direction contained in the city's official plan, including Section 419C, which provides that infill development will, not should, provide adequate privacy, sunlight, and sky views for occupants of new and existing buildings. I would urge the committee to take a close look at the wording of the requested variances, especially the requested floor space index. The wording of this variance is clear that for this particular site, if a rear addition is being proposed, the floor space index cannot exceed 0.69. I understand that this determination was made based on the limited size of the lot and the fact that it is a semi-detached dwelling as opposed to a detached dwelling that might have more space to accommodate new massing. For that reason, I would ask that the application be refused on the basis that the application fails to meet the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw and result in a building that is simply too big for the subject lot. Tree-related concerns. My concerns about this being an overbuild are worsened by the fact that our two properties back onto an environmentally sensitive area and hazard limits that were created by the Conservation Authority. In fact, one of the variances is to allow the developer to encroach further into the TRCA setback than the 10 meters that is required under the zoning bylaw. The site backs onto a significant amount of mature vegetation, and the proposal has no regard for this area or the important role that these trees play in defining the character of the neighborhood. At minimum, the applicant should be required to make modifications to the proposal to reduce the floor space index in order to respect the applicable hazard limits. This would have the added benefit of mitigating some of the privacy and enclosure concerns mentioned earlier, questions that remain unanswered. I would also like to highlight that my letter raises a number of questions regarding the architectural plans that were never responded to by the applicant, including what is proposed to be done with the shared chimney and shared fence. Both of these features are found along the shared property line, yet the plan makes no mention of how they will be impacted by the proposal. Conclusions regarding the variances. In conclusion, the proposal variances are not minor, either with respect to numerical deviation from the bylaw standards, or more importantly, in terms of whether they can be achieved without unacceptable adverse impacts on surrounding properties. The resulting impacts include issues related to overlook and loss of privacy. The application does not represent an appropriate or desirable proposal for the lot, which is simply too small to accommodate the applicant's building plans. If the applicant is permitted to add this amount of gross floor area to the rear of the property, this is a scale of development that would not be compatible with the type of reinvestment that has occurred within the surrounding neighborhood. For this reason, I would respectfully request that the application be refused by the Committee of Adjustment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? Okay, thank you very much. Do we have the agent?
Sorry, I want to respond to some of the concerns that raised. I guess the most part was the floor space index. We're only increasing 4% from what is already allowed. So we are allowed 69%. We're going 73%, and I think that much increase. I've seen even more than that in our neighborhood, and I don't think we're asking for much. As far as the TRCA goes, the TRCA has issued a letter, so they don't have any objections. And initially, they raised a point that we need to be 10 meters from a stable top of a slope, which was indicated wrong, and then they rectified that. There is an advisory note that we received on October 26th from TRCA, and they're saying that we would like to take the opportunity to rectify our previous assessment, as the stable top of bank is in fact located offside and more than 10 meters from the proposed works. As such, we caution that the variance number 6 may not be applicable to this proposed development. So we're not, we're not encroaching into. We are abiding by what TRCA is asking for, and also the same goes with RNFP. So they're all agreeing with the proposal in principle. No objections from their end. And also, as for the privacy, I believe we already have windows that are overseeing the backyards, not us. Also, the other neighbors do have that. I don't think that will be kind of like a zoning concern, because there's always, whatever we build, there's going to be some windows looking at the backyard.
Okay.
And then the fence as well, we are showing it on the 3D, so we're basically rebuilding that fence. So I know the fence is going to be, the existing fence is going to be impacted, but that's already an old fence. So we need to just make corrections there as well, make it provide that required privacy between the two neighbors, which is something that we already have. We already have a fence, and I don't think we're changing anything from that perspective.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions for the agent? No? Okay, thank you, sir. Let's take it into committee then. Mr. Clay.
Thanks, Chair. Well, we always like to hear from the adjacent owner when it's a semi-detached dwelling proposing to do an expansion or addition. And it's best when these things can be comfortably agreed upon. In this case, it's not. Having said that, I think the proposal that is before us is not uncommon at all. It's a fairly standard addition that we're seeing on semis. It doesn't, in my view, appear to be going excessively deep. There is a ravine in behind with very heavily treed. I think with the fence, and there is no balconies on the back of this one as well, which I think is a good thing. So I think they minimize the overlook concerns. I don't have any real problem with this application. I understand the adjacent neighbors' concerns, but I don't think, given the circumstances and the neighborhood character, that this would be overall an offensive application. I think it's supportable.
Okay. Did you want to move a motion?
I'm happy to move a motion, Chair, if no one else has anything to add. I think overall it is very minor, and I'd move approval of this application. I don't believe there are any conditions.
All right, do I have a seconder for that? Ms. Chan? Okay, all in favor? Are you dissenting, Ms. Hayes?
I was offline for part of it. I got booted out, so I didn't
Oh,
hear.
just mark you as not present?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Okay. Okay, okay, so that motion carries with Ms. Hayes absent for the vote. Item number 20, 312 Vesta Drive. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 5 photographs of trees. Received presentation materials late yesterday in the supplemental agenda. We have 11 form letters in support, which I believe includes adjacent neighbors as well at 310 and 314. And we have opposition from 313, 315, and 317 Glen Eyre Road. And I believe it's predominantly regarding the terraces. I do show 3 speakers. Do I have the agent on the line?
We have the agent on the line, and we have all 3 speakers, but I'm going to have to ask Rona Schulman to log out and log back in and enable her microphone access, as we're not able to unmute her.
Okay, that's fine. We'll need the agent to do a presentation for 5 minutes. That gives you some time anyway to figure it out. Thanks.
Good morning. It's Glenn Rubinoff. I'm the agent for the owner.
Good morning. So if you can do a presentation for 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes, and then we'll have the speakers.
Sure. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is an application for a 3rd-story addition plus rear terrace and a small balcony on the 3rd floor next to that. This is 3 variances before you. We did check in with city planning, and they had no concerns about this application. The 3 variances, 2 of them are related to the platforms, and 1 is related to the lot density. The density permitted is 65% in this area, and we are at 70.6%, which is about 35 square meters over. And that's well within what's been approved in the area through other applications of similar types of projects. This is adding a 3rd story, which many of the homes around already have 3rd stories, including the neighbors on Glen Eyre who are going to speak. The reason we have some photos that were submitted which show the tree coverage between our property and the properties on Glen Eyre. I think there's more photos than that. In the rear yard, yeah, I mean, basically it's a lot of tree coverage. And just to point out that the backyard, the rear yard from the proposed terrace is about 44 feet from our terrace to the rear yard. And then just an estimation, it's about another 60 feet to the rear of the neighboring houses on Glen Eyre. So there's at least 100 feet in between, plus a whole lot of big trees in between as well. So I understand that their concern is about the terrace, but it's really quite a distance away. There was also a map. I don't know if you have that as well in the supporting materials that we provided. It shows a little bit about some adjacent properties that have exceeded, the densities have exceeded beyond what we're proposing. I feel it's a minor application. The impacts on the people who are most affected, they are in support of this application. The green indicates the property is in support. And there are precedents in the area for platforms. We do have, exceeding the 4 square meters. Like I said, planning reviewed this and had no concerns when I reached out to them. We feel that it fits into the neighborhood. The neighbor to the north, we did provide a privacy screen there. You'll see it on the side elevation drawing. But they had no issues with the proposed application we had before. So yeah, that's really, I think that's all I wanted to mention. Just that I feel that these 3 variances are minor in nature and meet the 4 tests of the bylaw. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Rubinoff. I'll have you back after we hear from the 3 speakers. So do we have the first speaker?
Miss Marlene Lam.
Yes. Yes, good afternoon. I'm Marlene Lambropoulos, one of the owners at 313 Glen Eyre Road. Our main concern, along with the concerns of our neighbors to the north, the Solishes and the Schulmans, is that the variations which they have proposed exceed the variations which we outlined in the deputation, which are allowed, meaning that we are very concerned that there would be significant impacts on privacy on all of our dwellings, as far as I know. There are bedrooms to the back of our houses, and we are concerned that the platforms, the balconies which they're proposing will allow them a view into them, will impact our privacy in the house. And also the noise concerns because there are 2, I think they're looking at 2 decks, and they will significantly increase the amount of noise which we will be having to listen to. So those are our main concerns. And the fact that their variance requests do exceed what is noted on our deputation as allowed. Okay. At this point.
Panel members, do you have any questions for the speaker? Okay, thank you very much. Do we have the next speaker on the line?
Yes, we do. Noel Solish.
Hi,
You're cutting out. If you're speaking, I can't hear you at all now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you say something else?
Test 1 2, test 1 2.
Okay, great. So just your name and address, and then you have 5 minutes.
Hi there. So my name is Noel Solish. I'm the neighbor directly behind 312. Our main concern really is the terrace that they're building. It's very large, far exceeds.
I lost you again.
6 1/4 times what's allowed. It looks directly into all of our backyards. It allows for them for entertainment with a lot of noise. No other house in the neighborhood has such a terrace as that. I don't think our concern is that they're building a 3rd floor. It's just they're building an entertainment area that, you know, you wouldn't see in any house. No other houses like that. I'll point out that they have the houses adjacent. The one south of them is owned by them. So it's nice of them to provide a letter of support from a house that they already actually do own. But it's the neighbors behind, all of us behind, that are affected, not the ones beside them, not the ones in front of them on streets in front of them. It's all in the back. So, you know, they can see directly into our bedrooms. They can see directly in our backyard. It'll be loud. This terrace is for entertainment. It's going to be loud and really affects our privacy. And that's the main concern for us. When I go through the 4 tests, I don't see how it passes that. I don't see how a variance is minor when it's 6 1/2 times what's asked to be. And I don't see how this is appropriate use. It's in keeping with all the other houses. The agent talks about other houses having 3 floors, which is fine. It's just the terrace that's outside, that's loud, that is, you know, seen in condos and other buildings, not in the houses in our neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, sir. Panel members, any questions for the speaker? Seeing none, thank you very much. And the final speaker, if you have them.
So she's not logged off, so I'm still not able to unmute her, unfortunately. So Rona Schulman, if you are listening to this, if you could kindly just log off the WebEx call and log back in and enable your microphone access. That way we can unmute you and allow you to give your presentation. Through you, Madam Chair, we're also going to try and call Rona. Perhaps maybe we can have her speak over her phone.
Okay, I'll give you a couple minutes, I guess, to try to get her. Either on the phone or through the computer. In the meantime, panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. Rubinoff? No? Ms. Hayes?
Hearing the submissions from the neighbors in the rear with respect to the terrace and looking at your plans and the use of that space, often we see terraces off bedrooms and things like that. This is off a lounge area and a family room. Could you speak to any that are this size out of that kind of use space? And is there any kind of submissions you'd like to make to the panel with respect to the concerns about overlook and noise that have been raised by the objectors?
Sure. Thank you. Yes, it's a single family home. It's not divided up in units. It's a family that wants to have that 3rd floor as a space for them. It's the same footprint. We haven't added other than going up on top of the existing footprint of the house. And this is on top of an existing extension on the 2nd floor. So they're building on top of an existing roof, effectively. There's noise bylaws. There's privacy is something that I pointed out earlier. There's a number of very large trees, and they themselves, from looking from not just their lot but next door on both neighbors, they can't see into their backyard, let alone even their house, and it's over 100 feet away. So I'm challenged to see how this is a privacy concern in that consideration. I think they've been long-term, they've lived in the house for quite a long time. The next door neighbor, the comment about that, they own it. next door neighbor is owned by a corporation. It's not owned by my client here. It's not a privately owned home. It's rented out, and the residents there who are renting it have no concerns. But with regards to the size of the terrace, it's really just based on the fact that it's building on top of an existing roof. And they did, there was an understanding when you look at the distances. It was a surprise to hear that there was some concern from the other street. But the neighbors on both sides were fine with what we were proposing. And planning again had no comments about it, no concerns expressed. I think because they recognized it wasn't going beyond the house, it was just built on top of it. Thank you.
Mr. Clay.
My colleague makes a really good point, and I'm not sure you really answered it. This is going to be an active use area because of the nature of the adjoining rooms. Can you just talk to us a little bit about what your approach is to privacy screening and noise attenuation?
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Sorry, I should address that. So it's a partial width of the house. It's not the full width. So it's on the right-hand side to the north, and we do have a full height privacy screen shown on the plans to the north neighbor because they're right next to them. So if you look at the side elevation, yeah, go up. I think one more. That right there. Sorry, down. There. That's the privacy screen right on the side there. Yeah. And we can certainly provide that all the way around. We didn't have any concerns expressed from the other side because it's about 25 feet away to the other house on Vesta. But certainly a privacy screen at the rear to offset concerns. We can provide that as well. It's not, I mean, I'm not going to say old, I'm going to say a mature couple that live there. They're not looking at this as an opportunity for having parties. It's an opportunity for them just to have some outdoor space, amenity space on the upper level. And that's because there's a natural place to put it on top of the second floor. But certainly noise is not something that there are noise bylaws, and certainly they respect that. I think if there is a wish to provide a privacy screen to the rear, we're happy to provide it.
Ms. Chan?
I just like to understand, in the backyard, do you have a lot of trees
Yes.
to provide some kind of screening? Yeah.
Yes, there's photos that were shown. I think it's in the same attachment. It wasn't those ones. There was some further ones, maybe in the correspondence. There, yeah, if you go down there, those ones there. So these are taken from the backyards of 312, 314, looking towards Glen Eyre. And there's a lot of large trees, a lot of coverage. It's very little interaction, and trees will provide a certain amount of noise reduction as well. But they're certainly not something where there's a clear view, and it is 100 feet away. So I just want to point that out, that noise, from my understanding, noise travels a certain distance. If there is some conversation that goes on, it shouldn't be carrying on all the way back there.
So there's no, as you say, there's no direct view to that new terrace from any of these properties?
No.
Okay.
Staff, have you been able to get the third speaker?
Yes, we have. I can unmute her now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Rona, you are unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, I can. Can you just
Hi.
state your name and address for the record, and then you have 5 minutes.
So this is Rona Schulman. I am diagonally to the north of Vesta. I am at 317 Glen Eyre Road. I don't want to repeat anything that's been said. I clearly agree with all of those of us who have written in opposition, the main issues being privacy and noise. So the only other point that I would like to make, in addition to the very succinct one that was made, is that this backyard is likely to become a bit more of an entertainment area than it was before. There has been a basketball court in the backyard there, and based on the images, it looks as if that basketball court may be moved closer to the far end of the backyard, increasing noise one more time, in addition to everything else that has been mentioned. Since we are diagonal, I'm not sure that the screening that you're talking about is going to block out our view. We can actually see directly into the backyard of the property at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. Is anything else?
No, like I said, I don't want to repeat everything that has been said, but we
Okay.
do have those concerns.
Okay, much appreciated. Panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Rubinoff, can you speak to what was just raised? Basketball court and again, the noise, etc.
This is their amenity space. Effectively, a lot of people have in the backyard, they have, spaces for recreation. I feel this is just a natural thought that came when they worked on the third floor to have a little bit of opportunity to go outside and have some fresh air. And the size of it was just based on the footprint of what the house currently is. But like I said, if it's something concerns of privacy, then we could certainly provide a privacy screen at the rear. The intention's not to overlook, not that you need some perhaps binoculars to kind of get further than the rear yard. But what I'm saying is I believe that that this will not have the impact that it appears. 4 square meters in the bylaw is about 40 square feet. It's something that there's another little balcony. We've actually it's only 20 square feet. It's just for for a sitting area up there as well. But it's really not meant to injure or impact anybody. It's just simply a means for fresh air and a space to sit outside, and that's really what it's about.
What kind of screening would you propose to put all around, like an opaque screening? Because sometimes.
Yeah, I think opaque screenings is actually a very good idea because they still want whatever light to come in, but it's not. But privacy, whatever works for privacy, opaque is probably the best.
Yeah, because wood and some of the other materials make it actually look more bulky, I think.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Okay, panel members, do you have any other questions? Ms. Hayes.
So the privacy screening that is shown on, I don't know if there's a drawing number here.
It's the one up there. There it is. There.
Yeah, the elevation drawing. So that's been in discussion with your neighbor. So that's not opaque and that's higher than
right.
Normally. Are you proposing that you would do what's proposed there and opaque screening on the other sides of the remaining?
That's what we discussed with that neighbor. So I would agree to whatever this screening that's shown here to leave it, but for the rear portion for the concern to do opaque on the other side. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? Seeing none, let's take it into committee. Ms. Chan.
Yes, I think what I want to say is maybe the main issue here is the second floor terrace, right? But I do not know whether it will satisfy the neighbors with the screening all around. But I think it satisfies me. I think that given the area, given the neighborhood, and also it's a single family house, I think that it's just very whether it make noise, there's no noise bylaws, and I think that with the all side screening, I'm ready to support the.
Okay, anyone else? Anything to add? Okay, Yim, you want to move a motion?
Yes, I move for approval with the condition that the opaque screening to all three sides of the
I
of the
think that
second?
when Joanne spoke to the agent, they want to keep the one side the same as on the plans, and then the rest opaque.
What is the side? What I need to. What is the side
It's
that
the
they're going
north,
to?
it would be the north elevation drawing, Yim.
Yeah, the north elevation.
Yeah, because it shows quite.
Which
Well,
is
it's labeled as the drawings labeled as right side elevation.
right side.
Can I maybe, can you give me Mr. Rubinoff again so we can just clarify which sides the opaque screening is going to go on?
Okay, yeah, that will be the best.
Okay, Mr. Rubinoff?
Yes, that would be the north side. The north
So
side.
the opaque would be on the north side.
Yes. Although, the opaque would be to the west.
West side.
The north side is the one that's currently there that we're.
Right, and that would stay as per the plans, so the opaque on the west side.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Chan, so we're back into committee, so it would be opaque screening, privacy screening on the west side. Ms. Hayes?
Just make one comment. I think it should be the west and the south side because some of the concerns were not just from the immediate neighbor behind, but their side. So I think that the applicant had said that they would agree to screening on all sides.
Yeah, good point.
That's what I thought too, yeah. So I got confused. So, yeah, okay, to provide opaque screening, 1.5 meter from the deck, west and the south side. And the north side is indicated
as
on
per the plans.
indicated, yeah.
Okay, so the motion is moved by Ms. Chan to approve the application with a condition for 1.5 meter opaque screening, privacy screening on the, is it the second floor deck on the west and south sides?
Yes.
Yep, okay.
I thought it was a terrace.
It's the terrace.
Sorry, the terrace.
On the third floor.
Yeah, third floor terrace.
All right. I think we have it straight now. So with that condition, moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? That carries unanimously, and we stand adjourned at 12:38. We'll be back at 2 o'clock.
Thank you, Madam Chair and panel
Okay,
members.
see you at 2.